Hello team, I wanted to record another video to update my money and income tax video that I did last year. There's some things that have changed and just wanted to go through it again. So what I'm going to do is share my screen with you and go through the slides quickly just to give you an idea of how to run your doTERRA money, how to claim your income taxes, what kinds of things you can and cannot claim, as well as a new thing that maybe some of you aren't aware with yet when you get to the bigger ranks, something else that you have to do. So if you can watch this whole video, it'll help you get all that stuff organized. So let's just share my screen here. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I want to go through all the money stuff here. First thing, when you're operating a small business, you need to be really diligent at taking good care of your books. I know when you start out, you think you're not earning very much, that it's not really important to have to worry about that kind of thing. You're like, I'll deal with that later. So it's a problem for future Yolanda, right? And I was that way when I started my business. I was not great at writing things down, at keeping track of my income and earnings. I just kind of assumed like I would just save all my receipts and then I would have my income was available in my back office. I was like, I'll just deal with it at tax time. But if you keep track of it throughout the year and keep it in a spreadsheet, I can post a really simple spreadsheet to use after this. It's going to make tax time really quick. So this year, filing my taxes was actually super simple just because I had been really diligent at keeping track of it all. So yeah, make sure that you're doing that really well and don't neglect it. What you earn needs to be claimed. So I know some people have said that they're putting all their money into their accounts receivable account that they thought, it won't be something that they have to claim on their income tax. It's still considered earnings. You're still earning that money even though you're spending it. So I would just suggest that you do claim it and that you also claim your expenses, because likely your expenses are going to negate the income you're earning. If you're just starting out, you might be breaking even and you're not going to have to pay a lot on your income tax for your doTERRA biz anyways in the beginning, but you should claim it. It will be really simple. It would be like, I earned $500, I spent $500, and that's all you have to do. But then it's all legit and all good, right? So if you do earn over $500 in the year, doTERRA is going to send us a T4, so that's great. It's actually a T4A, so it's going to help you fill out your taxes a lot easier. So I remember last year I had to actually go through my back office and find all of the different commission earnings and add them all up on a calculator and give it to my accountant. So now I can just give them a T4. It's a lot simpler. Why? Why do we have to keep track of our business? Why do we have to keep track of those expenses? It's definitely a necessity. It's definitely something that's going to be important to you. For one, you need to have an understanding of where your money is coming and where it's going, because maybe you're not realizing how much you're spending and that you're not actually earning anything. I know my first 6 to 12 months, I was literally spending all of my doTERRA earnings on my doTERRA business. And I was doing that intentionally. It was an investment in my business. We were assuming in our budget, in our family budget, that I was actually bringing home the money that was on my paychecks, but I wasn't, because I was actually, it was negated with expenses. So your financial health is entirely dependent on your knowledge of it. Being ignorant of what's happening is not going to put you in a better position at all. It's just like our health, right? If we don't think about it and we pretend we don't know the sugar content in our favorite Starbucks drink or whatever it is and just drink it anyways. Knowledge is actually empowering. Knowledge is going to give you what you need to make the best decisions. So you have to know and understand where your money comes and where it goes. So a spreadsheet is going to give you a really good picture of how much you earned and how much you spent, and kind of add it up and see what your net profit is, because that's what you're actually going to be paying your income tax on. How much your expenses get to count against your earnings, right? So you're going to keep a running total throughout the year. The spreadsheet that I will post the link to is super helpful at keeping a running total, because when you put your numbers in on the month, it's going to add it up to your overall total for each quarter and for each year. So you can see those numbers as you go. Before we used to print our commission summary for income taxes, but now you're going to be able to use your T4A. Just remember, if you haven't filed this year's taxes yet, the T4A that doTERRA sent you was just from May 1st to December 31st. It doesn't have dates on it, so it's a little bit confusing, but it does not include January to April. So if you only submitted the T4A as your earnings, you're actually not disclosing 4 months of your income. So you have to include that in your taxes. This is a hot tip that I had put on from our last webinar that I did. It's recycle your pay stubs because you don't need them. If you still are getting paid in US dollars via check, you can throw your pay stubs away. I don't understand the purpose of keeping them. You can find all of that information in your back office in the future if you need it. So personally, I just don't hang on to them. It's extra clutter. So remember, when we're talking about keeping track, it's so important to know every little thing that you spend. So if you have a subscription to something, maybe it's like DocuSign or CinchShare or any program for your business, you want to keep track of all of those teeny tiny little expenses because they actually do add up over time. And so every single receipt, every single invoice that you get, if you order something from Aroma Tools or My Essential Business, print your receipt right away. Don't you're like, oh, I have it in my email, I'll use it later. Print it right away because it's going to be super helpful to just go through a folder at tax time and see all your receipts in one place. At the same time, as soon as you place that order, go onto your spreadsheet and write it down. I spent $300 at My Essential Business on this. Tax was this. Keep track of your HST that you spent as well. And just for every single expense, go through that process. When you're out and about and you buy something, so say you went to the post office and you shipped something and you have a receipt for that, you're going to be able to claim that as a business expense as well. But just put the receipt in a separate spot in your wallet or have an envelope in your wallet so that you can stick it in there. And then when you get home, you can input that into your spreadsheet. And if you don't want to do it every single time you have a receipt, just save your receipts in that envelope. And then, once a month, once every few months, take the receipts out and put them into your spreadsheet so you have that. And keep your receipts. You can only claim expenses of something that you have proof for. So if you don't have your receipt, if you hadn't saved it, you're actually not going to be able to claim it as a business expense. So make sure you know what's happening here, what you're spending your money on. It's very important. Just keep all of those documents and receipts and stuff as you go. You can print off your doTERRA invoices. I actually do it after I place my LRP order and it says thanks for your order. It pops up on the screen. I just print it right then so I don't have to go back and do it at tax time. This made it really quick this year. But you can, if you haven't done that throughout the year or you don't want to print it all the time, you can go back and print all of those orders. You have to go into your account inquiry because you can only see 3 months order history on your dashboard. But if you go to Wellness Advocate Services, account inquiry, you can click there, open up every single month. And every time there's a credit card payment, you can click on the order number or the invoice number, and it should bring up your order with your invoice and you can print it. Okay, so the account inquiry is going to be a really helpful place for you. You can see your commissions and your orders all in that report. What can you claim? You kind of think, well, what expenses am I claiming for my business? I claim 100% of my monthly order. So anytime I'm ordering 100 PV per month, that's a business expense because it's a required expense in order to receive commissions. If I don't put in that order, I don't get paid. So this is a requirement of doTERRA, which makes it a business expense. And I'm fully comfortable with doing that. Anything above the 100 PV, I will separate it into a business purchase and a personal purchase. So if I'm buying shampoo and conditioner and laundry detergent and skincare, that's not a business expense. It's for personal use, personal consumption. Some people would disagree and say that you need to be using the products to sell the products, but I don't claim the personal use stuff. So I'll have 2 different orders. Typically, I try to order my personal use stuff with my points anyways to get as much as possible for free. And then I'll order my business expense stuff like class in a box and sampling oils and oils that I'm going to have on hand for a vendor show. All that stuff, it goes on a separate order. And those ones I print and I stick right into my folder right away. So that's my tip. Place 2 orders in the month, 1 for business, and you can do all your business stuff on your LRP if you want, and then 1 for personal for later on. So you also, every time you order anything from any of the oil supply companies, you're going to print those receipts. Every time you go to the post office, you're going to keep those receipts, put it in your wallet. If you are making photocopies or you're printing something, that is all considered a business expense. All of those expenses, if you keep them in a handy folder that you have access to really simply, then it's going to be really easy, right? Come income tax time. Like I mentioned, you have to have proof of those expenses. So you have to make sure that you keep all those things. If you are an administrative person, you might want to look at a bookkeeping program. I personally don't like them. Like, I like a spreadsheet. It's very simple. I can see everything on one page. To me, it makes a lot more sense. So QuickBooks or something like that is an option, but do what works for you. You do have to claim your doTERRA commissions. I know some people are like, well, I'm not earning over $25,000, so it doesn't really matter, right? You have to claim it. You will have to pay income tax back to the government on your self-employment income. And now that you're going to be issued a T4A, it's even more important, right? There's record of these earnings in your name with your social insurance number. So you're going to have to submit it. If you're still getting paid in US dollars, it's a little bit trickier. Your accountant can likely do the exchange for you, and they can just use Bank of Canada's exchange for the year and kind of figure out what you would have been paid if you were paid in Canadian dollars. But I personally have opted to have direct deposit in Canadian dollars, and it made this year's taxes so much simpler because everything was in Canadian from April on. So that was helpful for me. This slide used to say, go to your commission summary and print off your primary and secondary bonus and submit that. But now, yay, we don't have to do that. We can just submit our T4A. And this is just my tip. So I mentioned this just 2 seconds ago, but you can be requested to be paid in Canadian. I personally think direct deposit is simpler. It's faster. It's easier to keep track of. And I really like it. And they use the best exchange rate of the day. I'm not someone who's going to put all my US money in a US account and pull it out at the exact right time when the dollar is high. I don't have time to be bothered with all of that. But that's up to you. If you have a US account and you love doing that, go for it. But I prefer to be paid direct deposit. So what can you claim as a business expense on your business? You can actually claim your home office. So even if you don't have an actual home office and you use your dining room, you can still claim it as a home office. It's your multi-purpose space. What you're going to do is claim up to 10% of your home expenses as your home office. So you have to kind of figure out how big is that space that you work in as compared to the overall square footage of your home. So if you work in a 1,200 square foot home, 120 square feet of it is a home office, you get 10% of those home expenses. You can claim them. So that's actually the maximum. You're not allowed to claim more than 10% as a home office. So that's these kinds of things. Your gas, your hydro, your water, your property tax, your mortgage interest. Oh, I put or rent twice. Whoops, sorry about that. But mortgage interest or rent, you can claim as well, but only 10%, right? So my water bill was, I think, $200 for the whole year because we have septic, super cheap. So I was literally only claiming $20 on my income tax return. So 10% is not a lot, but it is, all those little bits add up over time. So I do encourage you to save all those bills, set them aside and claim them at tax time. Your business expenses, you can claim 100% of. So you can claim gas and mileage. You will have to look up how to do that. I don't claim my mileage because somebody told me you have to keep track of it. And I honestly just can't be bothered to be writing down my mileage when I'm driving places. But you can. So it is an option if you want to just kind of Google it and see how you would go about doing that. You can claim every single time you're driving somewhere for a class, every time you're making a business transportation, then you can claim it. All of these things as well, up to 100%. So you're going to kind of determine how much you use for business and how much you use for personal use. My cell phone is like pretty much mostly business, but I still only claimed 50% because it's hard to say how much biz and how much personal, because I do use it for both. And I don't keep track of what I'm using it for. So I just claimed 50% of my cell phone, 50% of my internet, but then the rest of the things I claim 100% of. So all of my 100 PV doTERRA orders, every single purchase I make from a supply company, from Aroma Tools or My Essential Business or something, every time I'm shipping something, every time I'm buying supplies. So sometimes I buy bags from Uline or Prima Wrap or something like that. I'll claim that. If you go on a business trip, you can claim all of that as well. 100% of your flight, your accommodations, but only 50% of your food you're allowed to claim because that's just part of the rules. Only 50% of food eaten while on a business trip. And then anything you've purchased for your business. So whether it's prizes for your leaders, incentives for your team or for your customers, gifts for people within your organization, all of that is a business expense. Just be reasonable. Use your judgment. You're going to be able to figure out what is not an actual business expense. So I did purchase a new laptop this year, and I wrote it off entirely as a business expense. We have a personal home computer, and I have a work computer. So this computer was after I got a nice large fast start check. I had enrolled a ton of people, and I could afford about half of the cost of this laptop with my fast start alone. It was super exciting. I decided that I was going to get my own laptop. So that month it was one of my business expenses. And as long as it's for business use, you can use that as a reasonable business expense. If you're making a new home office space, like I just did, see my pretty home office? It's all a business expense as well because it's for my business. I did mention this already, that I keep an envelope in my purse to put all your receipts. Okay, this is the new thing I was talking about, GST and HST. So if you're not earning $30,000 per year, don't worry about this at all. You don't have to claim your GST or HST. But for those of you who may have never heard of this, I don't want to come as a surprise to you when you get up to those higher income earning rates and ranks. So because we're registered in Canada, all businesses have to pay the government GST and HST. Because we are a registered business and we have a business income, we have to pay that portion back to the government. So it's literally the same percentage as HST. For me, because I'm in Ontario, it's 13%. So you need to register for a business number. You can do so with Revenue Canada. You can call them, or you can just Google business number Revenue Canada, and it'll take you to the website and show you kind of how to set that up. I would suggest calling them. It's the easiest way to get it done. And they can explain to you over the phone when you need to claim it and how often you need to pay it. So it's basically you take your entire earnings for the year, and 13% of that you owe to the government, just right off the top of your earnings. But the cool thing is doTERRA has kind of worked this into their system. So they charge HST on all of the purchases in Canada, and then all of the wellness advocates pay HST on their commissions, but then it's all like a wash. They get it all back. And doTERRA, because they are amazing, will actually cover the entire cost of your HST earnings. So it's not something you have to worry about setting aside and paying out of your own pocket. Just be aware that there's like a little bit of a delay in doTERRA paying you. So submit your invoices to doTERRA early enough to get it so you can pay your HST in time.
or have a little bit of extra in your account so you can kind of pay it and get reimbursed. But they cover the entire cost of the HST. So for easy numbers, say you made $1,000 in the month, 13% would be $130 that you owe to Revenue Canada. You send doTERRA an invoice excuse me, for the month and say my earnings were $1,000, HST would be $130 with your name and your information as well as doTERRA's information on it. And I will give you a document, an already pre-made spreadsheet that you can use for this. You send doTERRA the invoice, they pay you the money, and then you file your HST return. It's not like an income tax return. There's a separate portal that you can use on Revenue Canada to submit your HST return. And there's like 5 little boxes you fill in and you hit submit. It's super, super simple. But it is another thing that you have to add to your plate when you are up to those earning ranks. So don't worry about it right now, but just be aware that that's something that's going to happen. Sorry, probably around gold rank. You're going to be looking into doing this, gold or platinum. And then you'll need to talk to me or talk to, if your leader is already there, they can help you figure that out. Okay, last, just a review of what we went through. Toss your pay stubs, track your income and your expenses, keep your business and personal purchases separate so it's easy to claim. Keep a folder year-round of all the things that you have spent, including all of your expenses, and keep an envelope in your wallet for your biz receipts. Just remember, I'm not a tax expert. I've only learned this through experience from doing doTERRA. So make sure you talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, and they can help you figure out like the best way to get your most back in taxes. Do what works for you. Find a system. Use your judgment. Do the work. Make it happen. Set aside money throughout the year. This is important. Some of us spend all of our doTERRA income, or you add it to your family's budget and you use it as part of your money that you have. But you need to set aside like around 30% for income tax, so that when it comes time to tax time, you have the money just sitting there in a savings account ready to pay it off, and you're not scrambling with a surprise. So I know last year, my husband got a refund on his taxes because he gets quite a lot taken off of his paycheck in taxes. And so every year he gets a refund. And it was the first time that I've had to pay on my doTERRA income. And so he got a refund of like $4,000 and I had to pay like $3,750. So for us, it like worked itself out. It was like, oh, sweet, we got $250. Like it was basically even. But if that's not your situation, you're going to want to make sure that you have that money sitting aside and ready to pay it off. So yeah, that's it for the money talk. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to go through any of this stuff with you and be a little bit more clear. If I missed anything, you guys can just kind of comment on this video and people can sort it out. Even just ask questions in the comments. It's a great place to look for information, kind of bounce ideas off each other on the team and what you guys have been doing. Hopefully you've all submitted your taxes by now. I recorded this video on April 20th, so you have to pay your taxes by April 30th, right? So hopefully you've done that already, but better late than never. I really wanted to get this video out to you guys. All right, have a good day, everybody. Bye.